this song. It's so fun. Or is it considered a piece because it doesn't have words? I learned that recently. I don't know if y'all know that. It might be common knowledge that if something doesn't have words, it's considered a piece. Otherwise, if it does have words, it's a song. Now you can be annoying whenever someone is just like, oh, I love that song. You'd be like, actually, it's a piece. Howdy, y'all. Welcome, welcome. I have been in so many back-to-back meetings. I literally ended a meeting 2 minutes ago and was like, I have to stream. And so I'm like, not 100% prepared, but you know, we're rolling with it, and that's okay. That's what Rubber Duck Thursdays are all about. Are y'all working on anything fun? This music's such a vibe. It's great. Ooh, from Brazil. Obrigada. Thanks for attending. I don't know many Portuguese words besides obrigada and like bom dia, so that's all I got. But welcome. I'm glad you're here. We want to set up one of these to be in Portuguese so that way it can be more local to y'all. But I don't know what the timing will be on that. But hello, 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 world. It's great having y'all. Welcome to watching Rubber Duck Thursdays for the first time. Such a good time. All right. And because, once again, I'm coming here straight from meetings, I'm going to do some quick posting on social media to be like, hey, by the way, we're live. I meant to do this earlier, but you know, sometimes life happens. It's okay. We're rolling with it. And you can watch this on Twitch. You can watch this on YouTube. You can follow your dreams and make things happen. Excuse me while I post on the social media and in my corporate Slack because I was supposed to earlier. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, anyway. Hey, friends. From India, nice. Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. But anyway, yeah, what are y'all working on this week? I'm working on a React Native app. I talked about it a little bit last week, but we ended up talking more about like job interviewing and stuff, which we can do again. But we talked a whole lot about just the types of things that you should study for job interviews, getting your foot in the door, and that sort of thing. And then I did a tiny little dash of React Native, and so we could do some of that more this week. From Argentina, wow, welcome, welcome, bienvenidos. I have a bunch of mate from yerba mate from a friend of mine in Argentina, and he also sent me a bunch of what are they called? Alfajores. So good. I had never had them before, and I ate all of them very, very fast. But anyway, once again, I'd love to know what y'all are working on. Tell me, share. I also think I have figured out how to play background music, and so I'm going to try to do that while your chat messages come in. You're building an e-commerce app for a friend. Ooh, what kind of e-commerce? Digital signage. Oh, interesting. Well, so e-commerce, are you building like a shop? Or are you, what are you building for that? I'm curious. Okay, let's see. How do I make the background music work? Because I want to make sure that they don't kick me off of the internet when I play things. I think what I do is I share my screen with audio. So let me try that right now. Oh, he sells clothes. Oh, that's cool. Okay, also share audio. Okay, we'll see if that works. And hopefully you don't hear like Discord notifications in the background. I'm not sure if it worked. It's working on my end, but I'm on this side and not on that side, so just let me know. You're working on a React app where we can connect restaurants to NGOs and donate leftover food. Oh, that's so cool. Nice. That's awesome. Hey, Biscodes, welcome. Hey, Wayne. How's it going, y'all? Can you hear the music? Say, I can hear music if you can. If you can't, it's fine. I'll figure it out later. I know, it's Thursday already. This week has gone fast. I fast enough that I'm like, "Ugh, I need to catch up." Okay, you can't hear music? What if I do this? Do you hear music now? It's kinda like trancy music. You can now? Okay. So that means it shares music when I share my screen, which is okay. We'll make it work. It's fine. You don't need to see more of my face. We'll have the duck staring at the code. Nice. Cool. Can you answer questions about LLMs, machine learning? I can and deep learning sorts of things. I can answer a lot of them. I don't know if I can answer anything, but I can answer some of the questions that you might have. Let me know. Howdy, y'all. Yay. Okay. Awesome. We're good. This is the first time I've ever been able to make music work. And so it's nice because now, if there's ever silence, at least you can bop a little bit. Um, so the project that I've been working on, I talked a little bit about it last week, and it sounds more dire than it is. I had to like explain to my mom that it's just a silly little app. It's an app for tracking how often you cry. Just kind of like a fun thing. I thought it'd be an amusing app to try to build. And so let me do npm run web. And it's the first time I've ever uh, or wait, actually, let me npm install really quick because I just git pulled. Git pull, and then npm install just in case. Um, this is my first React Native app. And so I'm pretty sure I'm doing things actually kind of incorrectly just because I haven't built with React Native or Expo before, but it's been cool to play with. And so I've been learning a lot. Okay, let's see, npm run web. I'll get it to pull up. A cry counter, I know, right? It sounds so silly, but it's been fun to learn with. I'll show you how it works. Let me just get it loaded up on the screen. It's on my other monitor now, so once it's done loading, I'll show you. And once again, because it's Expo, I've never used Expo before, but it's a framework for React Native. They have a lot of like nice to haves that you can work with. Where I installed a bunch of stuff from a starter that's probably not necessary, and so I'll clean it up later. But the fact that I can run it in the terminal and then like it has different links that I can do in a QR code and stuff, so I can run it on my phone too. It's super cool. That's the best way to do React Native. That's good to know. I'm glad to be validated on that. I truly just kind of picked it because I was like, people use Expo, right? I'm gonna try it. 1 second, I got a cough. Excuse me. Ooh, talking too much. But anyway, so I'm building this app. Oh, and it's finally loaded. Okay, so this is it. Let me zoom in a little bit. And so when you go in, there's no entries yet, but then you can log a new cry. And that first, before I do log a new cry, there's a bunch of tags. And so I could do like on stream, for example. Although I already have in public. But anyway, there's a bunch of tags that you can do to categorize your cries. And then you could say when it happened, how intense was it? This happened on the stream, and it was because it was non-public, but it was happy tears. I won't add a photo now, but you can click this and choose a photo. And this actually added a thing where if it's in the browser, it just chooses a photo. But if you're on mobile, you could also just take a live photo of yourself crying. Just like, it's just so beautiful. And then when it saves the entry, it has that as a little feed. And then you can just keep doing more hormones, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like this filtering and sorting And so I could say like I want oldest first or newest first. I only want the cries that are in public, stuff like that. And then you can also see your crying stats where it has like the average intensity and intensity distribution, your most used tags. It's silly and it could be applied to so many other things, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to build. And so that's what I've been working on. The state management, everything is fully client side right now. So like if I refresh this page, the logs will be tossed away. I haven't done any backend whatsoever because I just want to get everything like tightened up, looking good, and then I'll add more later. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. Paywall the cough counter. Oh no. Hey Jeremiah. Where does this music come from? It is a paid service. It's because, once again, you don't want to be kicked off the internet. It's from Soundstripe, which does not help you much. Let me see if I can share the playlist. I can. Cool. 1 second. Let me copy it. So anyway, I don't know if you can just play it otherwise, but I'll paste it in the chat, and if you really want to see it, it's that right there. Hey, welcome. There's quite a few of you from India. It's getting late over there. We're working on adding a different time zone so that way we can have some local times for y'all, I promise. Is this open source? It's a private repo right now because I haven't finished. Which like on one hand, I kind of like making things public early just to get it out there, but then on the other, sometimes I get a bunch of contributions before I'm ready to receive them, which is right now. Please don't contribute to this, which is why it's in a private repo right now. But I will make it public eventually, for sure. Am I using D3? No, I'm just using straight up CSS and icons. Like there's a material icons and where's the thingamajig? Expo symbols, and then what else am I using for icons? I truly just took some from Expo and used it from there. Expo vector icons. So that's what I'm using for all of that. CSS? I know, right? Yeah, it's very bare bones. I probably could do some more optimizations, but once again, I'm getting things out there and perfecting later, because I think that would be the way for me to actually force myself to ship it. Because I don't know about you, but I tend to get really caught up in my own head when I'm working on something where I'm just like, oh, this should be this should be that, and I end up like scope creeping and trying to make so many things perfect before they have to be, which is why, once again, I haven't made it the repo public yet, but I want to fix a few more bugs before I ship it. Because, for example, one of the bugs that will crash the app, I'll actually show you. If I delete the in public tag, blammo, broken. And I know why. It's trying to read all of the entries that use the in public tag. What I want to do is make it where if I delete a tag and it's already on some entries, it just deletes it from those entries. And then I also want to make it so that way I can rename the tags and edit the tags too, and do custom colors. But one thing at a time. Right now, it's truly an array of strings where, let's see, where did I put that? That's in my context. So I have a React context that's controlling everything, and I can zoom in a little bit. I just did a really big refactor a couple days ago. Copilot helped me so much, but I converted everything to be using React context to make some things a bit more modular. But the tags truly just come from this array of strings, and so I could be just like silly. I don't know, whatever. And so when I pull the app back up again, then now silly is one of the default tags. Like that is where it comes from. And I know that could be done better with like ID based tags and actual objects that have colors attached to them and stuff, but there you go. Let's see, I missed some questions. So If you're interviewing a machine learning candidate for an internship or full time, what do you look for in terms of an LLM's point of view? RAG fine tuning, optimizations, MLOps for the same. What else? I admit I haven't interviewed a machine learning candidate in a long time. So I do look for like general fundamentals of do you actually know what some of these terms are? What are the pros and cons of using a fine-tuned model versus a more general model in a code base? Those types of questions. But I like to do things a bit more practically, where I try to think of things that are more applicable to what the job will be doing and ask questions based on that, which not everybody does that. Not everybody does. But that's how I kind of think of it, where I try to think of like, if I were to give you a task in this particular real world scenario, how would you approach it? So I can kind of see how you think and how you like to work. Let's see. I like to work the same way, getting it out there first. It feels like I get to nibble a bit on the carrot on the stick that helps me push through. Yeah, exactly. It kind of reminds me almost of like test-driven development, almost, because I like being able to get like one little green check at a time, one little thing that definitely works, um, and then slowly but surely add more. Because what I want to do, I want to spend so much time on like a really cool splash screen that looks like something crying. I want to do I want to do so many things that I know for a fact will take away from the actual app development and probably slow me down. And so I'm just trying to fix bugs, get all of the core parts working, and then I'll do the scope creepy stuff later. Thank you so much. We're getting there. Once again, not perfect. I have a lot to fix, but it's working. Yeah, that fight is super real. Is something choppy? Like is my video choppy or anything? I can't tell on my end if it is, because it's very local. So hopefully it's not too rough. Am I on Instagram? I'm on Blue Sky. I'm not really on Instagram anymore. I was never super into Instagram. Oh, the audio is choppy. Let me know if the audio is choppy. But this is my handle on Blue Sky, cassadoo.co. I'll put it there too. GitHub's also there too. Blue Sky, and then GitHub is on all the platforms though, because GitHub. And so you can see it on Blue Sky, on Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. I do not control it. The audio is choppy. Okay. And then let's see. A different refresh rate. Yeah, I don't know how to control certain things. I have like my personal streaming setup and then the corporate streaming setup, and it's just different enough that I have to be careful about which levers I pull, and so it's going to be a little bit choppy, and I'm sorry. Is Copilot free for students? Copilot's free for everyone. Let me put on my GitHub Copilot shilling hat, because that is what's cool about it, people. Cheers, Copilot. Yeah. Oh yeah. GitHub Copilot, now available for free. Blammo. There's a free tier. It's not a free trial. It's just there's a fully free tier. And it's pretty generous. I forget the exact numbers. I want to say it's 2,000 code completions a month and like 50 chat messages a month is free, which honestly, like, it's the end of February and I have not hit that number yet. And I've used it pretty heavily for this app that I was just showing you. So depends on what you're working on, depends on what you're doing. But yeah, it was officially made for free like mid-December, I think. And the team is slowly but surely adding more and more free features. You can see the little Copilot friend chasing my mouse over here. But yeah, so use it, try it. It is great. And now I've earned my salary on this stream. Go, use Copilot, please. Running out of is Copilot free for nonprofit organizations? Once again, free tier. I know that there's other free plans for certain organizations that have partnered with GitHub, but I admit I don't know enough about it to be able to say much more beyond that. Um, running out of credits on March 4th, trying to get help on Splice versus Slice. See, this is where I still go to something like a Stack Overflow. Yeah, so it's not unlimited free because nothing in life is unlimited free except perhaps love. But yeah, there's a free tier. Students get the pro tier for free. Oh, right. There's also, yeah, the GitHub Student Pack. GitHub Student Pack. That one is super cool. If you look up the GitHub Student Developer Pack, I will paste it in the chat once it has loaded. Oh, let me actually paste this Copilot one too so that we can see it. So yes, first of all, that, but then also the GitHub Student Pack. If you are a student and you verify you're a student on the platform, you've got Copilot for free. There's a bunch of courses that are helpful for prompting, technical writing, all kinds of stuff. But then there's also just a bunch of really, really handy. Oh, they have front-end masters too. Oh, that's amazing. In addition to all of these, there's all these services. So, for example, a free domain name from Namecheap, and then some credits for DigitalOcean and plans for Notion and Azure and JetBrains and .tech domains. There's so much free stuff you can get as a student. There's actually more than I thought there was. Dang, these are nice. Anyway, check it out. It's cool. GitHub Student Pack. And Copilot. Please. So I admit, like, I've used Copilot since it came out. Like, I've been using it for a long time, and it is really nice. Like, I do still disable it on occasion if I'm just like, I just need to focus, lock in. This is what I want to think about, what I want to do. But man, it's so nice to not have to do some of the really tedious stuff sometimes where I'm just like, okay, I know this is exactly how I'm going to code it. This is exactly what I'm going to do. Being able to just hit tab on that autocomplete and do that it saves me so much time on things where I'm still doing the thinking, I'm still doing the prompting, but I don't have to necessarily do all the typing, which is great. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh wait, let me see the previous part of this question. If I ask you to implement an app that searches all the documentations available on GitHub internally, and some users only interact in French and others in English, also some of the documents are in French only, how do you implement it? What tools would you use? So for an example, user A sends a query in French. He needs a response in French, but what he's looking for is in the English documents. Interesting. And I know that part of this is like, there should be parity across languages. But let's see, how would I implement this? And what tools would you use? So you want to implement this search. The way that I would build this is, so first of all, it depends on a lot of how the docs are set up and how things are searched. So I'm going to make some assumptions. But what I would assume gives, let's just say you have access to all the documents, everything in English, everything in French, yada, yada, yada. Chances are you can have some level of alignment where like this document is available in X languages, this document is available in Y languages, this document is available in Z languages. And so like if there's different availability for things, it's just like by topic. So in theory, I would set up some level of intent detection where when a user asks a question, you're just like, okay, which document do they want? Which topics are they hitting on? And so it would be that, but then also which language are they speaking in? And then from there, you could say, okay, this document is available in your chosen language. Perfect. Send that one. this document is available, but it's not your chosen language, that's where I would offer some level of translation, which is a different model, but it would be like 2 layers there. And so it would be just like, okay, the answer that you're looking for in French is here, but it's in the English docs. This is how best I can translate it, or this is what you need to translate, and then go from there. And then honestly, from there, as you start thinking about more of the business case, you would want to track that, where it's like, how often is something surfaced in English, let's just say, but it's asked for in French, so that you could prioritize how you implement the docs in those other languages. Does that make sense? That's a very high level way of how I would set that up. Yeah, internationalization libraries are great. I think there's still a lot of human intervention that's needed when it comes to a lot of translation, but yeah. Oh, this is a real world interview question. Nice. Yeah, no, that's a very high level of how I would implement it. I won't get into it more because you get generally how my answer is, but there you go. Let's see. You have access to the documents. You need to figure out the language yourself. You don't have accurate info on what language this doc is in. Oh, so you're thinking of it of a different end of the stack of like the actual categorization of the documents. Yeah, I know. I was just quizzed. Did I get the job? But yeah, if you that's the different end of the question. I was going on the assuming that you already know about your own documents. But if you don't know about what your documentation capabilities are, or in terms of like categorization and language, I think that's where you would have to set up some kind of model for the categorization of topics that it hits on and language it's available in, which once again, depending on the model set you have, there's options. There's actually a really interesting app I saw recently where it had you read English words, and it said, based on how you read the English words, can we guess where you're from? And it was wild because, like, for example, a friend of mine based in Hungary did it, and he was just like, oh, it was correct. It knew I was Hungarian. And it was like, for me, it was like, I know you're a native English speaker, but you might be a little bit, if you were to name another country, it might be from X, Y, and Z. It was a really interesting model. So anyway, there are models like that exist. The end. Rights free on the price. Sorry, I should learn how to read. Rights for free on the landing page, and I also see a pricing section. Hey, there can be both. That is literally how software runs, by being a paid service. But then there's free levels. And so the free tier, yes, exists, but then you can pay for more advanced plans. And so the free tier, it is now available for free. It didn't have a free tier before, where once again, it has all of the free offerings with their own limits, but then you can pay for more. That is how these things work. I promise we're not trying to dupe you. This is just how it is. This is getting started with Copilot. If you want unlimited access, that's what pricing is for. Does anybody else hear Discord pings? I think that is my fault. And that's what... Something that I don't understand is that I can completely quit Discord. I can like straight up do the task manager, Control-Alt-Delete, exit Discord. The pings still come through. The notifications still come through. So if I'm sharing music because it's just sharing my system audio onto the stream, the Discord pings come through to you. So I'm sorry that you hear my Discord pings. They are indeed there. And I can also stop playing music too. But anyway, does anybody else have any Copilot questions or student questions or anything like that? Otherwise, I could show you other things, or we could code on some stuff together. Do I teach technology? I have taught full-time in the past. Now I work at GitHub. I work on the developer advocacy team. And so build a whole lot of technical demos and technical content and stuff so that developers like you can see what Copilot and GitHub and all of the GitHub platform like actions and pull requests and stuff can provide. But I have taught full-time before, and I teach a little bit on the side. How can we work at GitHub? You can apply. There's a jobs board. Is it Git? I think it's github.careers. Careers. Yes, github.careers. It's a cool place. I like it. And I am pasting that in the chat. Blammo. You only need the github.careers part. That /career homes is a separate thing. But it's been a fun place to work there. I haven't even worked at GitHub for 6 months yet. I was really involved with a lot of GitHub stuff just because I like it. But it's a very cool place to work, and then you can search for jobs by keyword and in the search and stuff, and you can see what's available. It's a remote company, but has some restrictions on that where like there's certain hubs in the US and internationally that they hire from. And then there's some countries where they can't hire in that country, but they do contractors and stuff. But yeah. Hello. Thanks for these videos. Watching you code live gave me the confidence that I was doing it the same way. Yeah. Yeah, you know, depending on what you're working on, sometimes the whole brute force way is the way to go. You know? For developing countries with no internet access, is there any offline Copilot? I don't think so. I should know the answer to this. I don't think so, but I know that there's ways to use like VS Code extensions to enable certain GitHub models in that way. But I admit I don't know much beyond that. Let's see. I can access the chat on LinkedIn, but I don't see how the links that Cassidy is posting. How do I see those? That's because this is streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch, and LinkedIn does not let me post comments, but YouTube and Twitch do. So if you want to see these links, you could go to, ooh, I almost put my own personal one. You could go to Twitch or to YouTube, and you will see the links that I'm pasting. Sorry about that. It's a LinkedIn restriction that we don't have a lot of control over. What are your thoughts on lead code interview questions? I have so many thoughts, but I'll keep it short. Lead code interview questions are very much an industry standard. I don't necessarily think they should be, but they're a good thing to study and a good thing to know. Because the reality of it is, when you are hiring at a very large organization and they want to keep things fair and standard across the board, they use questions that are like lead code style questions to ask, because it's a good like baseline, this person knows how to code, and it's a little bit less personal. For smaller companies, they're able to do more like specific applicable interview questions that are related to the job that you're going to be doing, because that's just what they can do. It's a matter of scale. I don't love that lead code questions are the standard, but alas, it is what it is. So my thoughts are, you should definitely practice them because you probably will be asked them. I don't necessarily think that they're the best way to learn, but that is how, or best way to check and assess skills, but that is how a lot of organizations do it. So they're kind of a necessary evil right now. And if you don't mind the shameless plug, because I should probably shameless plug myself a little bit better in general, but I have a newsletter where I have practice interview questions every week, and you can see how people answer the questions each week from the previous week and then answer the new questions yourself. And so that is my newsletter if you want to join it. Oh, you're reading Build Your Dream Network. Nice. Let me know what you think. That is a book that I recommended for those who weren't there last week. Build Your Dream Network. This is a book that I recommended last week for networking, like with humans, and figuring out how to build a network of humans that can help you get jobs and move up in your career and stuff. I think it's an excellent book. It is really, really great. And so you can see it on wherever you buy books, whether it's a very large tech company that has an online bookstore or a local bookstore. It's a good one. Lead code in one sentence is basically something better than nothing. Yeah. I do think that that's how a lot of companies treat it, where it's just like, it's a basic assessment. We can start with that and move up. Where I think I told this story last week, but I was interviewing for a relatively high level role that at a large company in the past. So I'm keeping it as generic as possible. And even though it was a very specifically React-oriented role, and it was not a role where I would be implementing certain sorting algorithms or anything in the role, they had me do a palindrome checker as my first interview question. And I was kind of like, really? Okay. And I like did the string comparison. Anyway, I did the palindrome checker, and they were saying, yeah, we know that this isn't relevant to the role at all, but it's a good start where we ask people this question and then we move on to more specific questions later. And so, once again, kind of a necessary evil. It is what it is. Take that as you will. It's anecdotal, but alas, that is lead code stuff in a nutshell. Oh, another thing. Did y'all see that Claude 3.7 came out this week? The Claude 3.7 Sonnet. 3.7 Sonnet. I'm fascinated by it. And I've experimented with it a little bit, and I know it's supposedly better, but I guess I haven't stress tested enough yet to be able to see if it could. But yeah, this came out this week. Most intelligent model to date, really good for coding, la-di-da. But then there was also it like does reasoning differently. Let's see. Oh yeah, and there's extended thinking mode where it self-reflects before answering. And I thought that was interesting, where I have experimented now both with the regular one and the thinking one. And the thinking one does take significantly longer to respond. But I can't tell if that's worth it, at least not yet. Where it's been interesting to compare the two, where I get much faster answers from regular Claude. I've been just using it in the Copilot chat, where I truly am just like, what do you think of this? This is what I'm thinking of implementing. I'll get feedback on it. And it's nice to kind of just get a quick answer and move on. That's pretty decent. But then with the thinking mode, it does significantly more step-by-step and organization of how it responds. Yes, Copilot should have it now. Although I don't know if it's free yet. I don't know if I should have said it that way. Let me see. github.blog/changelog. Let's see. I know it was we release so many things, which is such like a first world problem to say. We release so many things. It's hard to find the one that we released most recently. Let me paste that in the chat. Let's see. Code review in GitHub Copilot is now in public preview. Cool. GitHub Copilot is in the Windows terminal. Neat. Wow, we released a lot of stuff this week. I should probably make content on this. Like reloading responses in Copilot chat. Aha, 3.7 Sonnet. Wow, that was only 3 days ago. That was a lot of releases to get to this. Good job, GitHub. What a company. It's amazing when you work at a big company how much stuff happens where you're kind of in your own little worlds, but other stuff is going on all the time. Okay. Let's see. Oh, 3.7 is unpaid Copilot plans. Got it. So that might be if you don't see it right away, it might be because you're on a free plan. Um, I have a feeling take everything with a grain of salt. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things that is eventually available on free, but right now it's still brand new, and so they're they're doing things. And I'll leave it at that. But anyway, yeah, 3.7's on it. It's available. And it has been interesting to work with. It's once again not perfect because no LLM is, but it has been cool to it has been cool to experiment with. And then also, I don't know if you saw, let's see, not this. There's all these like fancy benchmarks, but my favorite benchmark that they used was about Pokemon. Where let's see, it was Claude 3.7 Pokemon. Let me pull that up. Is it just in this blog post? Oh yeah, Pokemon gameplay tests. I thought that was amazing. It does like this visible thought process, marketing, info. The main thing I really want to know is how well does it do in playing Pokemon, and I love that. And so 3.7 Sonnet has gotten to Surge's badge in Pokemon Red. And that's pretty good, because that means that if it got to Surge's badge, that means that it has to, I don't know if y'all played it. I played it so much. I actually have Pokemon Blue on my Game Boy right next to me right now, because nostalgia's great. But anyway, Surge's badge, you have to go through that whole like trash can maze thing to flip a bunch of switches. I don't know if y'all remember that. That's tough work. And I have a feeling that's why it took quite a bit, because they did the get Misty's badge, then reach Vermilion City. You have to go through a whole lot to be able to actually get Surge's badge, because there's like a puzzle. You have to use a Pokemon to actually get to that gym itself. And it's not only defeating Surge in a fight, but also being able to do that puzzle beforehand. Anyway, I love that this is a benchmark for how they determine success of a model, because that's pretty dang good. I honestly wouldn't expect, and I would expect an AI model to take quite a bit of time to get to this point, just because that is a particularly challenging part of the game. But because once you get, like, getting to Cerulean City is pretty hard, and as you can see, this reach Mount Moon. Clearly, I'm geeking out about this a little too much. Reaching Mount Moon is hard, but getting to Cerulean City, this is a very long line, because you have to navigate that whole cave and survive the cave and defeat all of these different things. But now, that's not the biggest challenge. It can do that, but it has to get Vermilion City and Surge's badge. Anyway, geek out about this as a benchmark, but I think that's amazing. And for those of you who were around when Twitch Plays Pokemon was out, it's reminiscent. Twitch Plays Pokemon versus Claude. You know, I can't tell. I still have a feeling Claude would do better purely because it has a mission, and Twitch Plays Pokemon was chaos. But that was great. Anyway, yeah, you have to make it past the forest and the cave. There's a lot that you have to do. It's I think it's a really good benchmark, because there's just enough restrictions. Like there's a goal in mind. There are check marks in mind where you have to get certain badges, and players or like the NPCs communicate with you, and there's a map, and you have guardrails along the way where it's like, oh, nope, you can't get past this unless you have this. Oh, you can't get past this once you get this, etc. Like it's somewhat linear, but it's just creative enough that it can kind of experiment within those restrictions. Anyway, I thought this was cool. I really geek out about stuff like this. And as easy as the original games seem now, there are like no directions for where to go or what to do. Yes. No, I have a whole story with this one. This Game Boy I have had since the 90s. I've had this since the 90s. I was young. My dad found it in a ditch on the side of the road with Pokemon Blue in it. where like he literally was driving and he was just like, "Oh, snowy in Chicago. What is that lime green thing on the side of the road? That looks interesting." He literally pulled over and picked it up, and he was just like, "Oh, cool, Christmas." And so that was our present that year was my sister and I, we got this Game Boy. I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. My sister was 5 or 6 years old. We didn't know what we were doing. We just knew that Pokemon was cool. And so, like you said, there weren't any instructions or directions. We didn't have any guides. We didn't have the internet to even look it up. It really was a magical find. Such a magical find. Um, and so when we first got the game, we didn't know that this was a Blastoise on the back. We just knew that that was a Pokemon. And all we did was walk around the mom's house for a long time because we were children. Like this whole like leave the house thing as an actual metric. Like, let me zoom back in on where did it go? Where did it go? Pokemon, please come back. There we go. This leaving the house thing on the bottom, that was us. We could not figure out how to leave the house for a little while because we didn't know that you could. We were just like, oh, that's the game. Because before that, games just weren't complex to us. It was always like we had like Connect 4 and stuff. We had nothing. And so my sister and I would literally take turns moving around the house, checking the TV, talking to the mom, and then trade. And we went back and forth. We were children. We knew nothing. Then one day, my sister is literally walking around just holding down the down button, and we look at the screen, and she left the house. The magic of what it was like to leave the house for the first time and realize, oh wait, there's more to this game. It's not just going around between the 2 floors in the house, which is probably what Claude 3.5 Sonnet felt, because Claude 3 Sonnet never actually left the house. So anyway, once we first left the house, oh, it just blew our minds as kids to be able to suddenly explore different towns, catch different Pokemon, do different things. It was spectacular. And so now the AI models are experiencing what I did as a child. But there was heartbreak. There was one time, this is just a total side story, whatever. There was one time where in that first playthrough, we had picked our starter Pokemon and it was Charmander. We had evolved it to Charizard. We were feeling powerful. Again, sister and I were trading. We were taking turns on this game. And there was a point where we had gotten to that point at the top of the map. The name is escaping me right now, where it's Bill's PC. Anybody who has played Pokemon, you've seen it. Bill's PC. And now I know that when you use Bill's PC, it's like how you keep track of your Pokemon. You can store Pokemon, you can get new Pokemon, figure out who's in your party, that sort of thing. For us, we were like, who's Bill? Why is Bill copying our Pokemon? Bill is the worst. You know what we're going to do? We're going to mess with Bill. And so we decided we were going to release all of Bill's Pokemon. As you can imagine, your heart should be sinking right now. We realized far too late that that meant we were releasing our own Pokemon. And the Charizard that we worked so hard to get on this first run-through of the game, as children, we released. We hit save. We were like, take that, Bill. You're the worst. We are Pokemon champions. And then we realized all that we have left is a Pidgey. Anyway, it was probably one of the most just heart-wrenching things. The music is changing to sad music right at the right moment. It was one of the most heart-wrenching things, and I've never started with a fire starter ever again. I've always done water starters ever since then, because it was devastating. Every memer was a Pokemon fan at some point in their life. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so good for Claude Sonnet. All of this, nostalgia. It's been cool to see how far the models have gone, and using it as a metric as someone who had to learn such a hard way as a child, it's cool to see LLMs doing the exact same learning. The end. So it's now available in GitHub Copilot in public preview, and you can see more on the GitHub changelog. Thank you for listening to my story time. I'm watching a guy play Pokemon Red with only a Zubat on my other monitor now. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, let's see. I see there are some big chat messages, and let me make sure that everything is... Let's see. Does it make sense to start as a software developer again? I'm coming back after a gap of like 6 years. I can make an HTTP server from scratch, a DNS client, a DNS server, but everyone says that's no big deal, and AI can build that in a minute. I just can't find the joy of building. Hey, the joy of building is being able to build something, whether you use an AI tool or not. There's some things that an AI tool can build, yes, like it can, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't necessarily build it. I don't know if you ever saw AlphaGo. AlphaGo was a project from Google DeepMind to play the game Go. They made history with Go because it was the first time that a bot could like really beat professionals, and it was a game changer. I play Go a lot, actually. I really enjoy playing Go, and it was amazing. I'll put it in the chat. Go was a game that people didn't think could be solved because it's so complex, and honestly it's arguable that it still can't be solved. They ended up retiring the AlphaGo bot, and there was a whole conversation on, is the game Go still fun? If you know that a bot will beat you someday, is Go still fun? Is there any point to it? And I was a part of a research study, and everybody pretty consistently said, yes, it's still a fun game. I still have so much to learn. We still have so much to learn from all of these AI tools and from professionals. There were some moves that AlphaGo played. I remember I took a Go lesson with a coach because I really liked the game. And she showed me a move, and I was just like, now why would you go there? And she said, you know, for literally about 400 years, this move was actually considered a terrible move. Nobody ever did it. It just wasn't done. But then when AlphaGo played it, people were just like, oh, this bot doesn't know what it's doing. Everyone knows you go here in this kind of situation. You don't go there. It's silly. But then like 20 moves later, when you saw what AlphaGo did with that move that everyone thought was silly, they were like, wait a minute. What? It literally changed the history of the game. And it reminds me of, there's a quote from Grace Hopper saying like, the most dangerous phrase in the language is, we've always done it this way. There's so much to learn from all of these AI tools. There's so much to learn from these systems that we're building, and it lets us think about problems in different ways. And so this is a very long way of saying, you should start as a software dev again, because that job isn't going away. The job is changing. Software development is changing over time. But just because an AI can do it doesn't mean that you shouldn't build something, because there is something human to it. Just because an AI is really good at creating a graphic of something with all of the image generation stuff out there, that doesn't mean I want to be a customer of AI art. I would rather see a human artist and see their interpretation of it because of the context and how they think. I think a lot of it applies, whether you're talking about a game, whether you're talking about art, whether you're talking about code. And so that being said, I personally think, Alpha Victor Charlie, you should still go into software development, because if you think it's fun, there's a role for you. Also, there's some orgs that don't want you to use LLMs. You can use LLMs and AI tools as a learning tool. Sometimes there's just joy in being like, I did this myself. Like there are times where I like draw something. There are tools that could draw this for me. There's printers that could print out the drawing for me, but there's satisfaction in the fact that I did this myself. You can say the same thing with your HTTP servers from scratch, your DNS clients, your DNS servers, all that jazz. Don't listen to the fact that it's no big deal, because it is a big deal. It just happens to be something that multiple people have done before, and AIs can do now, but it's still a big deal because you were able to do it yourself. And I feel very strongly about this. So please don't be discouraged. It is such a cool field to be in, especially now as so many things are changing. And I won't say it's not challenging, but it's cool to be able to solve so many different problems in different ways and use these tools for learning different strategies of everything. Okay, rant over. Let's see. Did you see someone ran Doom using only TypeScript types? What? No. That's wild. You know, and yet it doesn't surprise me. That is mind-blowing. Did you see that the material theme got pulled from VS Code? I heard about that. Did y'all hear about this? It was something where, like, I don't use the material themes. I have them installed. Maybe I should uninstall them. But I heard that, yeah, the material themes had some malicious code in them that suddenly was discovered, and so they were pulled. That blew my mind. It is wild. Let's see. I've been applying to lots of roles at GitHubs and haven't gotten any interviews yet. Any hints on how to go from applications submitted to getting an interview? Oh, that is so hard to say. And it's also one of those where I say it depends, because GitHub is pretty well known in the tech industry, as you can imagine. And so the recruiters are just underwater sifting through so many applications. There's so many applications. And it's kind of hard to it's hard to get an interview. Like, to be honest, I was rejected a couple times before I got this role, but it was because I was applying for roles that weren't like a perfect fit for me. And so I think that if you want to get past the application submitted side of things, make sure that it's a role that's definitely like a very good fit for you, but also the recruiters do look at the various links that you put on your resume. If you are sharing your LinkedIn profile or your GitHub profile or whatever, or if you're sharing nothing, it's fine. But if you share it on your resume, chances are someone's looking at it. And when you look at your resume too, in general, this is not just for GitHub, but in general, think about the scannability. If I'm a recruiter that's looking at 100 resumes a day, is your resume going to stand out for this particular role for whatever reason? So make sure that there are really good, like, highlighted features of things that you have built or results of actions that you performed. Anyway, that's such generic advice, but it is kind of just how it is. That being said, too, being really active in the GitHub community in general, like there's GitHub community forums, there's contributing to open source stuff like that. That does help. I can't say any guarantees because I'm not on the hiring side right now, but it does help to kind of get your name on the radar of GitHub for sure. I hope that's helpful. Again, kind of generic advice, but once again, I don't envy our recruiting team. We just made it one more week again where I mostly answered questions and talked about stuff and didn't write a ton of code. That being said, I will say there is a new Copilot model that's worth trying out, where in Copilot you can configure your code completions. When you configure your code completions, you can decide like which model you want to use, and the GPT-4o Copilot model is pretty dang good, and it's got like a whole new codex for how Copilot works and does auto completions. So that's me doing a little bit of a shill there. So once again, I can stay employed. Does anybody have any other questions before we bounce? One last plug for Copilot. Yay! Exactly. I gotta, gotta stay employed here. Um, I appreciate that you all ask questions and stuff and chat in here because I do think like yes, watching someone code is interesting and I like coding in front of y'all, but being able to talk about what's new, what's interesting to you, questions that you have, I do feel like that can be particularly valuable. Um, Thank you for this question. How do you make your personal website load so fast? Thank you so much because I over optimized so much of my personal website. This is my personal website right here, cassidy.co. If you would like to use the template, I'm using Astro. That's right. There's a couple people who called it out. I'm using Astro. Um, if you scroll to the bottom, it says this site is open source, and it's true. You can go to the GitHub repo for it and use it as a template and clone the repo right there. But anyway, this entire website is fully static. The only JavaScript that runs is for making the link colors change when you hover over them, and that is it. The rest is purely just a rendered HTML page, and I have things like cached and stuff. Astro's really smart about it. Oh yeah, smash that star button. You don't have to, it's okay. But yeah, like when you go to my newsletter page, I try to make it as static as possible. Where this quote thing where it's like people's opinions of my newsletter. I promise I'm not trying to just show my newsletter. This runs some JavaScript, but it's loaded on the front end where it like when this page is loaded, it's a JSON array that it just or a JavaScript array that's loaded onto the page, so it just loads instantly. It's not server side at all. When you go to the blog and go to different pages, even if you're just like, oh, I want to see Cassidy's blog post from 2009, everything fully static, fully HTML, loaded right away and preloaded onto the page so that you never have to wait for a loading screen. Anyway, that is a very, very short, high-level explanation of how I built my website. And once again, you can check it out, cassidy.co, or you can clone it for yourself if you go to the very bottom and click the repo, and it's called Blag, because that's how we say it in Chicago, Blag, and you can copy it for yourself. Subscribe to the newsletter, shameless and plugging. Best codes, you are the best codes. But yeah, sure thing. I appreciate it. Okay, cool. Anyway, once again, didn't code much, but I've had a really fun time chatting with all of you, and we do this every week. So I think I'm gonna remove this from the screen and go back to duck stuff. Anyway, we do indeed stream every single week on Thursdays for Rubber Duck Thursdays. So this time I stream and then my coworker streams at 10 a.m. GMT, which is more EU friendly time zones. And hopefully we can continue keeping this going. We want to add more time zones. We want to add more language availability so that way we can, you can start your own repo, right? Heck yes, you can. So that way we can make it so it's more accessible to as many people as possible. If you have suggestions of what you want to see, let us know. You can at us. You could just at me if you want on Blue Sky or there's Twitter, Blue Sky. I mostly use Blue Sky these days. Yeah, the EU stream is 4 a.m. for me as well. So there you go. But anyway, let me know what you want to see. Otherwise, at GitHub, whether it's on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on various other screens or various other platforms, talk to us. We would love to hear what you want to see because honestly, like we keep a pulse on everything everyone says. And so if someone says like, hey, you should have more content about pull requests, we'll do it because we want you to be happy. But yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Yay. Hurrah. Now I could send this to my manager and be like, keep me. But anyway, I really appreciate all of you being here and I will see you again next week. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Bye.